Embers of the Uncrowned is a online multiplayer dark fantasy action RPG that combines challenging combat, deep character progression, and a politically charged story built around betrayal, succession, and a kingdom on the verge of collapse. After spending 20 hours with the game, completing the main story and exploring much of what it has to offer, I've come away with mixed thoughts on whether this is one of the year's standout RPGs or simply another entry in an increasingly crowded genre. In this review, I'll be covering everything you need to know, and ultimately, whether Embers of the Uncrowned is worth your time and money. The story of Embers of the Uncrowned begins with a kingdom thrown into chaos. Following the murder of the king, tensions immediately rise as the ruling council debates whether the elves are responsible, potentially shattering a fragile peace treaty that has held for years. As the kingdom struggles to maintain order, the crown passes to the prince. However, before he can truly take control, he too is assassinated during his inauguration, plunging the realm even deeper into uncertainty. Caught in the aftermath is the prince's sibling, our protagonist, who becomes the target of the conspiracy and is forced to flee. What follows is a journey to uncover the truth behind the assassinations, exposing political intrigue, ancient secrets, and a far more sinister plot than anyone initially suspected. While the story leans heavily into familiar fantasy themes of betrayal and succession, it does a solid job of creating a mystery that kept me invested in discovering who was really pulling the strings behind the conflict. Moving on to the gameplay, this is where Embers of the Uncrowned really starts to establish its identity. Combat is fast-paced, ability-driven, and places a heavy emphasis on build crafting rather than simply mashing attacks. While there are some familiar action RPG elements here, the game does a good job of encouraging players to experiment with different skills, passives, and synergies to create a playstyle that suits them. Currently, the game offers 3 distinct classes, each bringing a unique approach to combat. The Stormbringer focuses on elemental abilities, utilizing wind and lightning attacks to control the battlefield and deal consistent damage. The Executioner takes the opposite approach, wielding a massive warhammer and relying on powerful, high-impact attacks capable of devastating enemies. Then there's the Spectral Blade, a more agile class that combines dual wielding with stealth and darkness-based abilities, rewarding a faster and more calculated playstyle. Combat itself remains engaging, thanks to the variety of skills available and the constant sense of progression. A stamina-based dodge system adds another layer of decision-making, especially during boss encounters where positioning and timing become increasingly important. The bosses themselves can be quite challenging, and players who neglect their gear, skills, or build progression will likely find themselves struggling as the difficulty ramps up. Progression is one of the game's strongest aspects. As you complete quests, defeat enemies, and advance through the story, you'll gain experience and earn sigils, which can be invested into a surprisingly extensive skill tree. Rather than forcing players down a predetermined path, the system provides a great deal of freedom, allowing you to prioritize damage, survivability, utility, or specific skill interactions depending on the type of build you're aiming for. Adding even more depth are skill gems, which can be discovered throughout the world or crafted through progression systems. These gems can be slotted into abilities to further enhance them with additional effects and stat bonuses, creating opportunities for powerful combinations and rewarding players who enjoy theory crafting and experimenting with different setups. The loot system complements this progression nicely. New weapons and equipment are regularly obtained through enemy drops, quests, and other activities, with gear coming in multiple rarity tiers that provide a constant incentive to keep pushing forward. Equipment can also be upgraded using materials earned throughout the game, ensuring that finding a powerful item feels meaningful rather than immediately becoming obsolete a few levels later. Exploration ties everything together through a large world packed with activities, objectives, and rewards. One of the primary recurring objectives involves locating and destroying corrupted structures scattered throughout the map, preventing the spread of an infestation that grows more dangerous as you progress through the game. These encounters serve as both a source of challenge and a way to encourage exploration beyond the main story path. To support this, the world features a network of fast travel portals that make navigating the map relatively convenient, while side quests, world events, and rotating dungeon instances provide additional content for players looking to venture off the beaten path. Combined with the game's progression systems, exploration generally feels worthwhile, as there's almost always another upgrade, activity, or challenge waiting around the next corner. Beyond the core combat and progression systems, Embers of the Uncrowned offers a surprising amount of additional content and long-term progression systems that give players more to work towards outside of simply completing the main story. One thing worth mentioning is the game's approach to monetization. At launch, the only paid content comes in the form of cosmetic costumes, allowing players to customize the appearance of their characters without providing any gameplay advantages. Importantly, progression systems, gear upgrades, skills, and other gameplay-affecting mechanics remain accessible through normal play, rather than being locked behind additional purchases. Customization extends beyond character appearance as well, with a variety of mounts available throughout the game. These not only make traversing the world more convenient, but also add another layer of visual progression as players unlock increasingly impressive options during their journey. A major part of the game's long-term progression revolves around settlement management. Throughout your adventure, you'll gradually develop and expand your headquarters, which acts as a central hub for many of the game's crafting and upgrade systems. Progression here isn't immediate, however, as most facilities require your headquarters to reach certain upgrade levels before additional improvements become available. As your settlement grows, you'll gain access to upgrades for key utilities such as the forge, traders, crafting stations, and potion systems. These improvements unlock stronger equipment upgrades, higher rarity skill gems, enhanced consumables, and additional ways to strengthen your character beyond standard leveling and gear progression. Supporting these upgrades is an extensive resource gathering system. Various structures within the settlement generate resources over time, providing materials needed for construction and upgrades. These gathering facilities can themselves be upgraded to increase efficiency, creating a satisfying progression loop where continued investment leads to faster growth and greater rewards. The game also encourages exploration by tying resource acquisition directly to world progression. As new regions are cleared and additional areas of the map are secured, more resource nodes and opportunities become available, providing another incentive to venture beyond the main story objectives. Another layer of management comes through the recruitment of NPCs who can be assigned to your settlement. Each recruit provides unique bonuses and benefits, ranging from reduced construction costs to improvements in production efficiency and other useful perks. While not the deepest management system you'll find in the genre, it adds a welcome strategic element to the overall progression experience. For players looking for more challenging content, Embers of the Uncrowned also features instanced dungeons with multiple difficulty levels. These can be tackled solo, with friends, or alongside other players online depending on your preferred playstyle. Higher difficulties offer greater rewards and stronger challenges, giving players additional goals to pursue once they've developed their builds and upgraded their equipment. Combined with the settlement progression systems and ongoing character development, these activities provide a solid amount of content beyond the main campaign itself. After spending a considerable amount of time with Embers of the Uncrowned, I can honestly say that I enjoyed my experience with the game. While it may not completely reinvent the action RPG formula, it succeeds in delivering a satisfying gameplay loop that kept me coming back for more. The closest comparison I can make is Diablo 4, particularly in the sense of constant progression and always having something to work towards. Whether it was chasing better gear, upgrading my settlement, improving my build, clearing corruption zones, completing dungeons, or simply exploring new areas of the map, the game does a good job of giving players a steady stream of objectives and rewards. I think players who enjoy defeating large groups of enemies, experimenting with different builds, collecting loot, and steadily growing stronger over time will find a lot to like here. The combat is fast and engaging, the progression systems offer plenty of flexibility, and the world provides enough activities and side content to make exploration feel worthwhile alongside the main story. The story itself also does a solid job of keeping you invested, with the political intrigue surrounding the royal family and the growing conflict with the elves providing a strong foundation for the adventure. Combined with the various side quests and world activities, there's generally always something to do beyond simply following the main objective marker. It's also important to remember that this is still effectively a demo or early version of the game. Even in its current state, there's a respectable amount of content available, but many of the systems feel like they have room to grow. If the developers continue expanding the game with additional classes, dungeons, activities, regions, and endgame content, there's definitely potential for Embers of the Uncrowned to become something much bigger over time. Overall, if you're a fan of action RPGs, enjoy deep progression systems, and like the idea of building a powerful character while uncovering a fantasy story filled with mystery and conflict, Embers of the Uncrowned is absolutely worth keeping on your radar. It's not perfect, but it delivers a fun and rewarding experience that left me excited to see where the game goes next.